It is Wednesday night. You know what that means. You're tuning in live or check it out after the fact on across all of the WrestlingInc.com platforms, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, wherever, whatever you're doing. We appreciate you and hope you enjoy the next hour here on our post AEW Dynamite podcast. I am Justin LaBar, sandwiched here in Pittsburgh in between my two wonderful co-hosts, the Bread in the North, Jimmy Korderas up in Toronto, the Bread in the South, Issa, the Demon Diva down in Puerto Rico. Hello to both of you. How are we doing, Issa?
I am doing great. I'm still recovering from a crazy busy weekend, but I'm excited to talk some Dynamite.
Yeah, we'll get a little Issa diary from Nashville here in a second. Jimmy, how is it north of the border?
It's very warm and very dry. Normally you say, "Oh, why does it have to rain?" We're hoping for some rain up here. It is a little too dry.
Issa, let's talk real quick about Nashville. You were there. It was the center of the wrestling world the last weekend. Of course, all the festivities around SummerSlam, the Undertaker's one-night show, and then, of course, capping it off on Sunday night, Ric Flair's last match. Of course, also Starcast going on. I know you attended all of these things.
Yes, I did.
Give me the play-by-play. Give me the highlights here. I couldn't even keep up with what you were doing. I was trying, but I still am backlogged a little bit on stuff of yours that I wanted to see.
I had an amazing, incredible weekend. Very busy, a lot of work. I think that the most surreal experience for me was getting to be backstage for Ric Flair's last match. I know a lot of people talk about the Forbidden Door. That was the Forbidden Door. That was the real Forbidden Door. The names of the people that were backstage, just showing some respect, showing some love for Ric Flair. It was incredible just to see the amount of legends and new up and comers, people from different companies, all there just hanging out backstage, showing some respect for Ric Flair. I got to go to Starcast. I got a couple of really good interviews. I got to talk to Claudio. I got to talk to Rikishi. I got to talk to the Briscoes. I mean, it was a fun weekend. I got to go to the tryouts for WWE. That was fun to see, what the future could hold in NXT and WWE. Again, it was an incredible weekend.
And where can everybody see these interviews? Where are they at?
Lucha Libre Online, also my YouTube channel.
So you got some that are in Spanish and some that are in English. You got a little bit of both, right?
Correct. I got to talk to Andrade right before Sunday morning. I got to talk to Andrade right before the match with Ric Flair. So that was a highlight for me. I got to hang out with Hugo and Carlos Cabrera, the voices that made me fall in love with wrestling. I got to share a drink with the two guys that made me want to sit here and talk wrestling. So probably the biggest highlight for the weekend for me was just sitting there talking to the two guys that call every match that I listened to growing up, falling in love with professional wrestling. That was awesome for me.
I'm gonna have to check that out and see that, just because I wouldn't recognize them if they're not sitting in front of a broken table. So that's cool to hear them sitting there having a drink with you. Very cool. Hey, I want to ask you this too, because obviously Ric Flair's last match, obviously the biggest talking point of the event itself is Ric Flair's last match. You were there live. How did it come off to you? Because I did not watch it live. Full disclosure, we had an IWC wrestling show here that evening. So, but I did, see viral clips and I enough to piece the match together, so to speak. And it seems like, from what I've gathered, but I want to know if you fall into this bucket, that if you're there live, the energy, the atmosphere, the legends, as you mentioned, it seemed to, like, people were satisfied. But it seems a lot of people at home more vocal of, like, this is hard to watch. How did it come off to you?
I feel very 50-50 on it. I love the atmosphere, the energy. I love seeing that Ric Flair at this age, at this point of his career, can just draw like that. Like, this man is still a draw, and you have to admit it. That place was fully sold out. The energy was insane, but at the same time, just seeing him wrestle, it was just something that I couldn't help but to feel. I don't need to see this again, but if it's a closure, it's an honor to get to be there. And like I said, the people that were backstage supporting Ric Flair in this event just goes to show you just the respect and the love that this man has, in the world of professional wrestling. I couldn't, from where I was at, right, my spot, I couldn't really get to enjoy the match to the best because I couldn't see very much of it. I was trying to get the best view of the entrances, because I wanted to see Rick walk out again in the robe and do all of that. So I couldn't really watch the match itself. I could see some spots. I know it slowed down a little bit when Rick was tagged in, but overall, just because it was such a big deal with it being his last match. Hopefully it is his last match. I personally thought, out of respect from one of the greatest professional wrestlers there is, it was just cool to be there and seeing the people again that attended, that showed up just to show Rick some love and respect, goes to show you just how respected and adored this man is.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Well, again, congrats to all the work you did, and I'm glad to see you getting all those opportunities. That's awesome.
Listen, you're the one who got me here talking wrestling. You're one of the people who talked me into doing this. So thank you.
I helped show you the door. You walk through it and everything else. So
yeah, all Justin could do is give you the opportunity. You took it and you made it work. And I enjoy doing Wednesday nights with you both.
Well, thanks, Jimmy. Well, let's dive in here before we get to what happened here tonight live with Wednesday night. Let's Mark Harrison has a super chat. Mark, I'm going to bring it up on the screen in a second, but I will lead into your super chat with one piece of news that we will talk about. Now, I won't say update because Issa's going to get mad if I say update. This is just more of a reminder of where we're at.
It's not an update.
And it has to do with MJF. Of course, MJF has not been seen for months now. Of course, had the match with the very short match with Wardlow at Double or Nothing, and then on the next Dynamite, he's on her mic screaming, "Fire me, Tony, you effing Mark," and we haven't seen him since. A lot of debate and speculation, all of it which we covered in the past. Of is this an elaborate work? Is it a work that's turned into a shoot? Is it a shoot that's turned into a work? All the things, and we haven't not gotten really anything since. Here's just kind of not the update, but the reminder of where things are at. According to Fightful, who had a story they put out today, which basically saying that Fightful has been trying themselves countless attempts to follow up on what happened, and no AEW talent, no staffer, nobody admits at least to having any conversations lately with MJF since that famous promo. People who work with him in other avenues or are close to him have also stated that he's kind of avoiding them without contact. MJF did have some opportunities in LA, which is where he delivered that famous promo. He apparently stayed there and had some non-wrestling stuff that he was dealing with. So, questions about what other entertainment projects he might be fielding. And reportedly he's been in New Jersey filming with the cast of Impractical Jokers, which does air on True TV, which is part of the family that AEW airs on in television. So it's unclear if he's appearing on the show Impractical Jokers or if he will appear in some other project that features a cast member. So that's not even known. Was also added in the report that no one has even overheard Tony Khan talking about MJF or his feelings about him. Tony apparently at least being very tight-lipped, at least if he's talking about it, it's behind closed doors and secrecy. Anyone asked about MJF in the pro wrestling community emphasizes that they haven't spoke to him since he walked out of AEW back in May. So, and then I get into real quick the super chat question from Mark Harrison. Thank you, Mark. It says MJF officially a shoot, and if no, is TK a fool? Jimmy, you've been around this business longer than any of us. You've seen your share of shoots, you've seen your share of works, and you've seen your share of one or the other that turns into one or the other. Give me the temperature that you are getting right now as we are several months removed. I mean, let me set you up here.
Okay.
If this is a work, they're playing the long game here.
Yeah. Let me put it to you this way. I have no idea if this is a work or a shoot, and that is what I love most about this, because we're in an era now where everything gets out there, the peek behind the fourth wall or behind the curtain. Everybody, you go to a website, you check out the latest news, here's some insider info and stuff like that. So if this is an elaborate work that they are doing right now, hats off to them. Cheers big time, because they are keeping it out of people's minds and making people think, oh yes, this is a shoot. No, this is a work. So I'm on the fence with this. It could go either way. Either way, I am just excited because if this is an elaborate work, they're taking their time with it. They're not telling anybody. And if whoever is in the know is not talking, I love it. I love that.
Well, Issa, like to offer Jimmy's point here, I mean, I guess they're at the point now where, like, it seemed like if it was an obvious work that they would have tried to cash in or pay it off by now. I mean, they've let some real time go by, and with the fact that they have serious stars who are injured and sidelined, they could certainly use arguably one of their hottest commodities in MJF. So the fact that they're not, it makes you kind of go, there's more to this. There is a lot of realism just given the cards that are being dealt right now. But I will say this: if MJF does pop out at All Out, or if he pops up at any point later on AEW television, AEW kind of has the luxury, because to Jimmy's point, nobody's talking. AEW has a luxury to kind of go, aha, it was our big elaborate plan all along. Even if it wasn't, even if it takes some counseling between Tony and MJF, that's kind of where it's at. Is that unless he just does not show up on TV until his contract expires in 2024, which would be mind-boggling. But otherwise, AEW has the benefit of the doubt, because everything's been kept under wraps, that they can spin their own narrative if and when he shows up.
Yes, of course they have that benefit, and if this is a work and everybody's keeping it a secret, I gotta give them props, because we live in a time and age that where nothing gets this level of secrecy, right? Like the fact that nobody has an update on what's going on with MJF and where we're going to see him on TV. Tony Khan does have a roster in which when a big star is missing, you can get away with maybe not necessarily missing them as much, because you have so many other big names there. But I will say MJF is one that I wonder every week, is this going to be the week where we see him come back? You know, when when CM Punk went down with injury, I thought it was like the perfect time to say, okay, let's just throw out whatever it is that we're doing in JF and just bring him back. If they have managed to get away with, not bringing him back yet, more props to them. But at the same time, we do have a lot of changes in WWE. A lot of people are looking at WWE differently right now because of all the things that we're finding out, the people that are in charge of creative. So if I'm Tony Khan, I'm going to sit down and have a real conversation with MJF if there's a real issue there, and try to fix that and bring him right back, because you probably do not want to lose MJF to the competition right now.
Right, and and great point, Issa. And I made a similar comment to Jimmy Monday night after Raw, but I'll put it now in this context again, which is, AEW's had the luxury the last couple of years of having the new car smell, of being the alternative, and WWE just kind of had the redundancy, the stale kind of feel to them. And now, if Vince truly is, really not making day-to-day decisions about creative, and certainly, WWE's got a great bit of momentum with how they booked their shows since Triple H's. It does feel like there is a whole new kind of revitalization of, hey, maybe it's a little attractive now to go back over to WWE now that Triple H is the guy who can put you into a WrestleMania main event, and he sees the business a little bit differently, a little bit more maybe modern. If there is real issues with MJF and Tony Khan, Tony might want to sit down and because in a weird way, this shift of narrative and reputation over in WWE right now, kind of gives MJF some leverage in some respects. Granted, his contract doesn't expire, as he says, until January 1 of 2024. So there's a lot of time. But
hey, if he's willing to wait it out, there's always the Royal Rumble for a big surprise.
Wouldn't that be?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something? I want to point out too. This is not a super chat, but it did come across on the chat, and I think it's worth mentioning. George says, Tony is making us forget about MJF. It's gone way too long. Not a good work if it is. That's a fair
it is a fair point, but I disagree with it, because out of sight, out of mind, what makes this thing, and please, one of you, if you do think of it when we get talking later about the main event, buzz me and remind me that there's something I wanted to say here. I don't want to give it away just yet, because you triggered something when you were talking there, Justin. So I'm one of those people that like that, the out of sight, out of mind, and then if it does happen, you go, oh, that's right, MJF. They haven't talked about him. They haven't mentioned him. They took him out of their promo packages. They took him out of their opening. They, don't follow him on Twitter anymore, and the whole bit. So, for me, it's working if it is a work.
Well, I know you don't want to give away your finish, Jimmy, so we'll keep your finish for later. The irony is this kind of reminds me of summer 2011. It's kind of like, in some ways, what WWE probably should have done with Punk after the pipe bomb, and he wins the title and like walks out, and like they should have let things go a little longer and breathe and really get people wondering and guessing, and then of course they just couldn't help themselves.
Yeah, but when WWE does these storylines wise, they always put on the fake. They're getting a fine. They're being suspended indefinitely. We haven't even seen that from the MJF aspect of it. We haven't even seen a comment. He's being open about not talking about him at the press scrum. So it really, really makes you wonder. I'm with Jimmy. I love the fact that you have to sit here and wonder, is it at work? Is it a shoot? We don't know. And I absolutely love that. But I will say one thing. I think MJF it's not going to be out of sight, out of mind. I think people will continue to talk about him. I think people will continue to say, where is MJF? What is going on with him? And that is awesome for MJF, like for him to be able to be gone this long and for us to still be sitting here talking about him. This was back in May. So many things have happened in professional wrestling, especially with the news. And the fact that we're all still wondering what's going on with MJF is really, really good for him and his stock.
For sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so there's the reminder of where we're at with the MJF story of just kind of a lack of anything really, silence. So, all right, so we'll of course constantly keep an eye on that. Let's jump into Dynamite tonight, coming to you from the Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio. Kick it off with Orange Cassidy versus Jay Lethal. We see a little bit as they fight to the top of the ramp with Satnam Singh out there. Of course, all 7 foot plus of him. Chuck comes out with Trent on his shoulders to try to combat the height, to try to even the odds there with the big man. Kind of a funny little spot. We get back in the ring. Lethal working on Orange Cassidy's left ankle. That's the real focus here, is just destroying that ankle. Cassidy even struggles to do his orange punch because he can't keep up on that leg. Finally, Jay Lethal wins by hitting his lethal injection. Post-match, Sanjay Dutt comes out with Jay Lethal and Satnam Singh, cuts a promo on Wardlow. Basically kind of, just talking down on Wardlow. They say they put Orange Cassidy in the figure 4 because they want Wardlow to get out there. They get Wardlow out there. They, of course, run off being the heels, and they challenge Wardlow to defend his title this Saturday at the Battle of the Belts 3, which Wardlow, of course, as the fighting babyface champion, accepts. So Wardlow defending the TNT title against Jay Lethal. So a lot to unpack here, Jimmy. First, obviously, Jay Lethal. Probably not a coincidence they put him in the opening segment, which is usually the top-rated segment, when he's coming off of a main event match against Ric Flair. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's probably one of the deciding factors in putting him in that match. And also, Orange Cassidy is hugely over with that audience, so it does make sense to put them in that spot. And I love the fact that this match told a bit of a story too. And you said, Jay Lethal working over the left ankle of Orange Cassidy, and he was actually selling it, as opposed to, he couldn't perform certain moves because he was selling his ankle. So it shows that Orange Cassidy, despite the ha-ha and the gaga that he does get the storytelling aspect of a match in pro wrestling. And I like the fact that at the end of the match, I think the right guy went over. Jay Lethal wins with the lethal injection to finish actually working finally. And with Wardlow coming out and the heels powdering, there wasn't a confrontation. There wasn't physicality. I like that.
Issa, what do you think of this opener?
Yeah, I absolutely love this opening match. I thought it was an excellent idea to capitalize on the fact that Jay Lethal have so many people talking about him after this weekend. At some point, you do have to put Orange Cassidy in the winning side of things. Like, he's putting on some great matches, but he's always losing. I love the selling of the leg, and I absolutely love the confidence of Wardlow. There's just something about Wardlow saying, I don't care who I face, I don't care when and where. He just has that confidence of, I'm gonna successfully defend my title, which I appreciated that. But I do think that Orange Cassidy, while we know he can put on some great matches in the ring, he always ends up in the losing side of things, and I do feel that at some point you do have to put him in the winning side of things.
Yeah, I want to again also jump on there. I love the selling of Orange Cassidy. Right, when he got the leg whip, the way that he scrambled and rolled to get out of the ring, to get away. Like it had a real sense of urgency and panic that his leg actually, leg or ankle, something really did not feel right. So tremendous selling. My critique that bugged me about it, he did great. The fact that he made a point to beeline himself as fast as he could, to get out of the ring. He's on the outside. The fact the ref did not come at all to come check on him drove me nuts, because quickly I'm processing, if I see the ref out there, the ref's checking, then there's like a chance this is real. But to me, all that I could think is, no, the ref obviously heard they were going to plan this big spot. This was going to be part of the cutoff, and the ref just took it as like another. And that's what drove me nuts actually about it. Was like, I thought Orange Cassidy did such a great job, and I was in it for this 5 seconds, and I'm like, ref, get over there. I'm like, oh, ref's not over there because it's. That's the disconnect I have with some of the officiating that I see on Wednesday nights. Is the referee, guys go out and fight, or girls go out to the I knew I'd trigger you. I knew I would trigger you.
Yeah. Go out to the floor and fight for long periods of time. The referee should be counting, but they jump out there and start to, hey, get back in the ring, get back in the ring. I get there's a way to fudge the numbers where it doesn't look as obvious, but you don't, they let talent go out there and fight way too long outside. And then in a case like this, where you should be going outside and checking on somebody, he doesn't do it. That is a very good observation, Justin.
But nonetheless, again, great, a good story here, as you said. Great a finish for Jay Lethal working, and it gets us to the business of this Saturday of Wardlow versus Jay Lethal. Obviously, I don't think any of us think there's any chance in a cold day of hell of Wardlow dropping his TNT title right now. But of course, you want to feature Wardlow, feature and act like Jay Lethal again, who's on on a lot of people's minds and mouths right now. So good call that I can get behind for this Saturday. Yeah. Up next, we get the Undisputed Elite in the ring. Mm-hmm. Adam Cole, baby, out there with Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, the Young Bucks. Cole gets out there. They're all standing tall. They all look like they're on the same page. Cole talking about he's not medically cleared still. So he is just in street clothes. But he does talk about the upcoming Trios tournament. This he's talking about right after he talks about loyalty and his friendship he has with the Bucks. And the Bucks are the reason why he got to AEW. And he notes Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. He's traveled the world with these guys. But then he talks about that Trios tournament that's upcoming. And he turns to the Bucks. He says, guys, we got a problem here. He's like, I'm not medically cleared. And Kyle O'Reilly's not cleared. And, you're not going to be with Bobby Fish. And quite frankly, you guys aren't even going to be physically healthy. And then they're not sure what's going on. Fish and O'Reilly attack them from behind. And, of course, Adam Cole jumps in on this. So Adam Cole... So no, the Undisputed Elite is done. It is back to just Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish. And then just as they are getting ready to continue the beatdown on the Bucks, here comes Hangman Adam Page to make the save, and Page and the Bucks embrace. So Ethan, I thought this was pretty enjoyable, pretty compelling. I did not see when they came out there. I did not see Cole and company turning on the Bucks tonight. I thought this was a good thing that kind of was just snuck in there and as the number 2 thing tonight.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed this. I thought it was funny to hear Adam Cole talking about loyalty in wrestling, where, wrestling has given me all of my trust issues in life because you can't trust anyone. So the more that he went on talking about loyalty, I kept thinking there's going to be a turn on someone here, right? I thought it was very well done. It was great to see Adam Cole back in the ring. Hopefully, they're clear to go soon. I love seeing Hangman Adam Page make the save here. I think I shared it with you guys about how when Omega comes back, I would rather see him in a singles division more than the trios division. So I do not have a problem with the Young Bucks, teaming up with Hangman Adam Page, and maybe we'll see Kenny Omega come back and kind of go more into the singles division. I thought this was very well executed, very well done, and I'm very curious. At the same time, I have to say it, I couldn't help but to wonder, with Triple H now in charge, don't you wonder what he would have done with Adam Cole if he was still with WWE? Because I do.
Are you thinking the same 3 letters I am as the next kind of HBK?
Possibly, Jimmy. I know. Okay. I know you get me, Jimmy. You get me.
Yeah. But I see it too. And again, there you go. It's you talk about the changes in the other place. Maybe it'll help AEW as well, because maybe they'll get out of that comfort zone that they seem to be locked in, that tunnel vision, so to speak, with their presentation every week. Maybe they'll start thinking outside the box and look at expanding their audience, like we've been talking about for weeks now.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing, right? It all comes down to numbers. It all comes down to audience. I know Raj. I know, even though he's traveling the world, I think he's in Paris right now.
Yeah.
Complaining as he's staying in like a 2-story luxury mansion in Paris. He's complaining about the temperature on the one floor and the temperature on the other one.
Or how he took the stairs to climb up the Eiffel Tower. I was like, I almost muted him. I'm going to mute him until he's done traveling the world. I'm telling you right now.
He's drinking his wine. He's complaining about it. I'm like, you're being so bougie. Stop tweeting about it. No, I love Raj. I'm glad he and his family deserve the time. But my point being, Raj still staying active on Twitter. He always likes to dissect the numbers and noting, AEW numbers year over year, especially as it pertains to Rampage, just not growing. No. And that's what they need to do. You got to grow the audience, and there's a lot of talk going on, obviously, with again, TV deals for them too, and mergers, and so a lot to watch right now that AEW. A lot of things to watch on business metrics that of what's going to happen in the next few years. So this is truly a critical next 18 months for both WWE and AEW, both having
Absolutely.
TV deals that need to be redone. WWE obviously now having Triple H at the wheel. Just a lot to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jimmy, I think Eric Bischoff had a very interesting comment recently. He said he kind of put down Tony Khan for saying that Tony Khan said that we're in competition with WWE, and Bischoff said no. He said you're in the same business as WWE, but you're not in competition with WWE. Right. Relating it to a mom and pop hamburger store, saying that they're in competition with McDonald's. Very interesting comparisons.
It is an interesting comparison. I think maybe Eric Bischoff underplayed it a little bit. I think they're doing better than a mom and pop place, but at the same time, like I said, they have to grow their audience and they have to start thinking, look, we have to stop catering to just one specific hardcore audience and start thinking outside the box.
Yeah, I agree with Jimmy here. I think I personally, I respect that they're catering to this hardcore audience. They are the ones who made them what they are today. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, any company needs some ROI. They need to see some growth. And we're not seeing that in AEW, and the numbers are showing that. So you also need to start catering to those casual viewers that are so rare these days in professional wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Well, up next would be the women, and we're talking about in the first
at
hour.
8:30 p.m.
Talking on the first hour. So certainly, WWE's had a pretty good run in the last 10 days with how they've presented their women, and all of a sudden we get a women's tag team match bumped up a little earlier in the show here as Dr. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter up against the Thunderstorm of Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa. I want to say I think the Thunderstorm, I think they work well. They felt like a tag team to me. I like the presentation. I like the little bit of cooperation they had in there. That said, though, I also want to give a shout out to Jamie Hayter with a double power slam on both Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa. Great display of power by her. Ultimately, though, with a little help of Britt Baker, she's going to cause Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa to collide. That's going to let Hayter give a short arm lariat to Storm for the win for Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker. So Baker and Hayter, they stand tall. We get a little more establishment of Thunderstorm, and again, the women just getting featured. So if you're not used to seeing in the first hour, Issa, I thought of you immediately. I knew that you were probably happy seeing this not be pegged at that 9:30 spot.
I didn't know what to think. I was like, did Tony Khan, like, maybe his cell phone didn't adjust the time zone? Maybe he was still in a different time zone, because I didn't know how to feel here. It was a great match overall. I really enjoyed the action here. For a company that doesn't have a women's tag team division, they seem to be working very hard on giving us some tag team wrestling in the women's division. I'm not gonna complain. The women's were on at a different time, and that is slow baby steps towards maybe doing something differently with the women's division. We did hear Madison Rayne is now part of the coaching team for the women's division in AEW, which I think is a big deal. We also saw WWE make some major moves in their women's division this week, with Bayley coming back with that incredible faction at SummerSlam. We saw Bianca and Io just main event Monday Night Raw. So I personally hope that this is something that will make Tony Khan step up his game and maybe start looking at the women's division differently. I'm here for this. Overall, I really enjoyed this match.
Jimmy, what say you?
No, I enjoyed the match very much too. But like you said, we haven't seen established women's tag teams, and I would like to see maybe them have a tournament to see, in some form or fashion, where you can get some women together and have them tag on a regular basis. Or at least, even if they're in singles matches, you have guys in tag matches where they come out and have singles matches. Why not have little groups? I don't want to say factions, but, where you have women's tag teams where they do occasionally wrestle in singles matches, but they have a good women's division. They have some talented women. I'm glad they utilized them early this week, like everybody else. But at the same time, there isn't really a women's tag division there. I think that's lacking right now. Yeah,
and Issa mentioned shout out to Madison Rayne, who was announced in a press release today. She's going to be coaching the women. She's also going to apparently have some on-screen and in-ring time, as they noted tonight. And I think a lot of her, from everything I've heard, and I had one opportunity to work opposite her a couple years ago, took a nice stiff right forearm from her. It wasn't stiff. It was good. But I know, but the way she handled herself that day, the way I saw her interact with, I mean, obviously she was the most veteran woman that was in that locker room that day,
Right.
and the way that she just handled herself with the other female talent, who again much younger, much less experienced than her, I thought was really, really cool. She really took a time, more so than I had ever seen really with any other veteran female. So up to that point. So so just from that one experience that I got to witness, hearing that she's been put in this situation for AEW, I think that's a great move for the office and for the growth of their women's division. Jimmy mentioned factions and teams, and there's no more Team Taz. They show the recap of Ricky Starks, and of course he loses the STW title to Hook, and then Powerhouse Hobbs is turning on him, and then they cut to Taz, who's been on commentary pretty regularly these last few weeks, ever since they moved to this format of one announced team in the first hour and then JR in the second hour. And Team Taz says Team Taz is done. He's done with it. He wishes all the men involved the best of luck, but he is done with all the drama. Kind of just a way to explain he's no longer going to be managing a faction, and he's going to be sitting at the commentary table. I'm fine by this, because quite frankly, I never thought Team Taz really got rolling the way that maybe they envisioned. I know Tony Khan, obviously a huge original ECW fan, so I'm not surprised to have Taz involved for that reason, and because Taz is a great talker. But put him on the commentary table where he can talk the whole show versus having him be one more faction and a company that's full of gang warfare, quite frankly. But Issa, Team Taz, are you going to miss it? Are you going to shed a tear? Are you crying into your drink tonight?
I'm not. I personally didn't think that Hobbs and Starks could continue as a tag team. They have lost so many shots at the tag team tenders. As much as I love them individually, and that is the hint here, I love them individually. I think they're better off as singles wrestlers. I think Ricky Starks is a star, and I can't wait to see what they end up doing with him. I'm excited to see what the future holds for them. But overall, Starks and Hobbs as a tag team, I couldn't buy it anymore just because they lost so many shots at the tag titles. So I think this is the right call.
Yeah, Jimmy. I mean, we have Starks and Hobbs, who like you said, they missed out on some opportunities. Brian Cage has just disappeared. I don't even know if he's under contract still. I don't know what happened there. And then I mean, Hook was kind of like the silent background. He's kind of the most over out of all of them with the crowd. This organic thing with Hook.
That's the thing. Yeah,
go ahead.
But that's the thing. Hook got over with the crowd organically, and he hasn't been talking, and that's unusual because usually, we always preach on here that you have to have some kind of character, some kind of charisma. You have to draw people in, talk people into the seats. Hook hasn't been talking people into. He hasn't been talking. Period. But he still has this aura about him that the crowd is gravitating towards.
They look at him and they get in the seats.
There you go. So, but when he does come out and he exhibits some personality, maybe we will be pleasantly surprised. I'm looking forward to that day. We talk about, hey, I can't wait to see what happens here. I can't wait to see what happens when he grabs that mic and cuts, like, who knows what kind of a promo.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know what his voice, again, I don't really know what his voice is. So I wonder, like, he has all the charisma with the song that he gets to come out to. And that cold-hearted, handsome devil that he's got me. God, if I looked like him when I was in my early 20s, good lord. I mean, now in dad mode, I wish I looked like Randy Orton. That's all.
Or Billy Gunn.
Or Billy, at grandpa mode, I look like Billy Gunn in my 50s. Hook does have a charisma without having to speak much, but I do wonder that can only go for so long. You eventually do. So I wonder, like, will they put his dad with him? Will they put Taz with him? Will he explode one day and will he just completely shock us and have this great microphone presence that he's just, not using right now? I don't know.
You never know.
Yep.
This one's for Jimmy. Jody Shauna Jenkins. Jimmy, Wardlow plus Hobbs equals High Voltage 2.0.
I don't know about that. High Voltage 2.0, but that would be an interesting combination. Definitely difficult to beat because you have two guys that are very dominating. So that's an interesting tag team to put together, but I like Wardlow as a singles right now.
Yeah. Wardlow and Hobbs are good. They're good gym buddies, but Wardlow don't need no tag team right
now.
No. Just leave him all on his own, please.
if anybody's gonna walk down the aisle with him, it's gonna be me. I'm gonna walk back down the aisle with him. He don't need no tag team.
I'm sorry, Justin LaBar. I will knock you out and take your spot then.
There you go.
You got to catch me first.
I might even have to throw the ref shirt back on if that match ever happens.
Yep.
Oh, it's on. It's on. I will run you out in high heels. I'll chase you, Justin LaBar.
I'll have Jimmy in my back pocket like Hebner was in Montreal. All right. So then we get some Powerhouse Hobbs versus Ren Jones. 2 words written down. Quick squash.
Classic enhancement match. And you know what? We don't see them nowadays, and I know people aren't big fans of them, but at times they do work. And in this case, it worked to establish Hobbs as the heel in this situation and a dominant one.
I got to give a shout out to Excalibur with the quote of the night that I called, at least, as right after he beats Ren Jones and just as he's reacting to Ricky Stark's music who hits, which we'll get to that in a second. As Hobbs finishes the match, Excalibur says, Powerhouse Hobbs wrestling this match like he was double parked. He couldn't get out of there fast enough.
I heard that too, and I actually popped for it.
What a great, because there's been so many cliche lines, oh, he doesn't get paid by the hour and all. Wrestling this match like he's double parked. But Ricky Stark's music hits, Starks come out, and even Starks coming out though and being the face to challenge Hobbs. Hobbs still puts him on his ass, and Hobbs the one who walks out tall. So Issa, as the fan of Ricky Starks that you are, like Ricky Starks is down on his luck. Like when does the other side of the coin flip here?
It's gotta flip soon, right? You're trying to make Ricky Starks that underdog, relatable baby face. I think that's what they're going for here. I'm excited to see what happens. I think it will happen possibly against Hobbs. We'll see what the plans are for them. But shout out to Ricky Starks because I actually did have a conversation with him this weekend, and he knows about our podcast, so he might be watching us. He knew who I was, so
everybody knows who you are. But yes, Ricky, look, he's full of charisma, and I don't. I don't get mad when people say that he reminds them of a young Rock. I think that's not to say that Ricky Starks is going to be the A-lister in Hollywood in 20 years, but I do see I can see where people would draw a comparison, and that's a hell of a compliment if enough people, which again I see it every week when he's on TV, somebody says it, and that's a hell of a compliment if people are going to consistently draw some comparisons to the past of, he looks like a young Rock, like a 1999 Rock. That's wow.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Justin, but I just want to say that I love the fact that we got a squash match. We talked about it in the past recently. I think a good old squash match works, and we don't see them often enough in AEW, so it was refreshing to see.
Absolutely, absolutely, especially in AEW. Like it's not. This is not just an AEW critique. Like, yes, I think that they sometimes have their matches are too competitive between two people that I don't buy in to be this competitive. I know they're trying to prop the other one up, but I'll even say in WWE, I think that especially with Raw being 3 hours, and granted it's now going to be a different kind of pace, probably 3 hours because it's different. But I still think I wish they would do some more squashes. There usually is a handful of talent that gets left off of Raw, or there's redundancy, or whatever. And it's like, scrap a few of these things, scrap a few of these 2-3 segment matches, and give me 2 or 3 squads just to remind me that you have some of these characters there, just so they're there. And so I think again, squash matches. Sure, we are far removed from 30 years ago on Sunday morning where we're going to watch nothing but squash matches and established TV talent hit the 3 signature moves, but there's still a place for them. So I agree. I absolutely love seeing a squash match every now and again, especially with a guy like Powerhouse Hobbs who looks the part. He's got the special entrance. So I'm all for it. I'm here for the squash. We get a Darby Allin pre-tape promo. Another these things are always so damn entertaining.
He was tattooing himself. What?
Yeah, tattooing himself. He's tattooing his hand as he tells a story about how he got Brody King hired. That he went to Tony Khan and said, "You need to hire Brody." So
he didn't.
That's what he's saying. Calling him a liar. That's what he's saying. The man's tattooing his hand. He's saying that he got Brody King hired. That drives Brody nuts. Brody's trying to build his name off of Darby. They're going to have a coffin match next week at the Quake at the Lake, which is the dumbest damn name in the world. But
I hate that name so much.
By the way, I know obviously Minnesota, land of 1,000, but like Quake. There's never been an earthquake in Minnesota. Like I've been to Minnesota. No, stupid.
We could have done better. We could have done a better name.
That name is the Mistake by the Lake.
Oh, good call. Good call. That's what we will call it next week on the podcast.
Yeah.
So somebody in the marketing department needs.
Yeah.
They need doc pay for the week. Anyways, so Darby goes on to say, "Okay, so the coffin match. So this message, this hand's the last thing you're gonna see before I shut the coffin. It's a message to Brody. Jimmy, Darby versus Brody in a coffin match. Are you psyched? Are you geeked? Are you amped?
Not entirely. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I would have liked a little more build to these two, as opposed to, look, here they had one. How many times did they confront each other?
Well, they had there was the Rumble thing, the whatever the Rampage Rumble, where Brody had a famous great visual of choking Darby and just kind of dropping him, and then they had an interaction on Dynamite.
Yeah,
they had a one-on-one match, and Brody choked him out again. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and it seems like it didn't. There wasn't, for me, and not enough build to a coffin match. This is like a big time match, which is usually reserved for something like a pay-per-view, and obviously they don't do as many pay-per-views or premium live events as the other guys do, so they put more of these bigger
Their
matches
premium
on
live event is the Quake at the Lake.
Oh my goodness.
Well, they had that interaction at San Diego Comic-Con in which Darby was just speaking to the crowd, and Brody came over and just messed him up. And while I appreciated this video package and the build up to it, I personally just think that Darby Allin, why would you want to take this match again? This man just literally almost choked you out to death on live television. So why would you want to take this match again? Does it make you look brave, or does it make you look a little silly that you will want to take on him again? We'll see how the match goes, but overall, I'm a fan of Brody King choking out Darby Allin, though.
I'm just afraid that this match is going to be the mistake by the lake.
Well, I mean, it's a good call. I mentioned, and I appreciate them trying to do things creative out of the box. So let's stage a thing at Comic-Con. But again, it goes back to my complaint that I've had other times at AEW, which is like, yeah, you can do things on Being the Elite, you can do things on Rampage, you can do things on Dark, you can do things on Twitter or whatever. But like, again, growing audience, you gotta always think of the mindset that if Dynamite's your A1 show, if there are a lot of people that only watch Dynamite, so they don't see Dynamite, they're gonna do kind of what Jimmy just did, which they're gonna go, well, why is this a coffin match?
They could have easily added the clip to the video package too. It was like a 30-second clip. I'm not sure why that wasn't included for the people that haven't seen it. But I will say that clip got a lot more views than some of their YouTube shows do. So I do think more of the viewers did see that a lot more than what they would watch Dark or BTE. But yeah, I'm with you on that, Justin LaBar. I personally think they could have added the clip, and I think that Darby could have gone in a different direction. Instead of "I helped you get like higher," he should have been like, "I don't understand why you're still picking on me," or whatever, and gone on that direction with his promo.
Yeah. All right, so we will talk about the mistake at the league next Wednesday here. Same rap time, same rap channel. Okay, up next, Blast from the Past. This one brings Jimmy some nostalgia. Matt Hardy versus Christian Cage. Now, is to note that earlier in the day we see Christian Cage being interviewed by Tony Schiavone. Car comes speeding in through the loading dock. It is Jungle Boy who gets restrained by security. He's not supposed to be there, so keep that in mind. Matt Hardy versus Christian Cage, a commentary not at all shying away. This is actually the start of the second hour, by the way. So Jim Ross is now on commentary desk. Start of the second hour. I think that's interesting because the second hour, again, that crossover into the hour, you got two guys who have been on wrestling television for 20 plus years. Audiences very much remember them, very much know that they are linked by a lot of historic clips. So I thought that was interesting timing and placement. So Hardy versus Christian, they're very, very much acknowledging commentary that these guys have fought countless times in every different situation. Not, obviously it did everything except say WWE, but I'm fine with that. Let's not ignore the obvious. Matt is the aggressor for a lot of the start of the match. He is out there just all over Christian. Eventually, we get the steel steps involved. Christian ramming his knee into Matt's head on the steps. We get a back body drop off the top of the ropes. We get both the twist of fate from Matt and the kill switch from Christian. Both are countered by each, noting how well these two men know each other. Matt delivers a side effect on the apron, grabs the timekeeper's table, but ultimately Matt Hardy's the one who ends up eating that. He goes to the table. Finally, kill switch by Christian. Christian gets the win. He then goes to threaten the concerto after the match. Out comes Luchasaurus, who provides the distraction for Jungle Boy, who apparently got to buy a ticket and somehow got into the crowd. He comes out, runs Christian Cage off. Jimmy, because you got so much history with these two, I'm going to jump to you first. What'd you think of the match of these two guys who have certainly are on their final days? What'd you like of the match and story? And then, of course, what it translated into after the fact of this Christian Jungle Boy, who obviously presumably headed into All Out, but a lot of personal stuff in this one.
No, absolutely. You know what? It brought back a lot of nostalgia for me. And to me, if I can make this comparison, I don't know how often Matt has faced Christian in the ring since both have, joined AEW. I don't recall ever seeing them in the ring against each other since both were with WWE. And to see them get in the ring and have this match, and it felt like two dance partners who hadn't danced together in like 10 years. And once the music hit, they were just like old partners again. These guys, they were fluid. They told a great story in the ring. They had great psychology, and even using the finish, Christian's kill switch, after Matt going through the table, which, in today's world, everybody kicks out of somebody's finish nowadays. At least this made it seem a little more authentic. I loved it. I love the match. I love seeing these guys. They look like, you could almost see it in their facials that they enjoyed working with each other again.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because Issa, I thought like having worked with both these guys and hear the personalities of them doing this, like Matt with a step spot, and then they did a couple things off the ropes. I can see these two like having a joke backstage, looking at all the not the young bucks, Matt and Nick, but all the young buck talent in the locker room, and Christian and Matt just kind of making a joke, like, let's go out there and let's try to let's try to steal our little quarter hour here and do some crazy shit.
Yeah, they did have a match in AEW, Jimmy. The thing of it is when Christian first came on board, I believe Matt Hardy was actually one of his first opponents in AEW. However, it was a whole different vibe and feels and different characters that we saw, but they did. I wish I remember everything about my personal life the way I remember wrestling. I will be blessed. But they did have a match in the past. However, it was completely different of what we saw tonight. I personally thought this was the best that Matt Hardy had looked in a while in a match in the ring in AEW. We haven't seen him be a part of anything significant, and I really, really appreciated what he did out there tonight with Christian for nostalgia factor. We were all here for that. And yeah, Jungle Boy tried to commit a vehicle homicide. Like, are we going to press charges for this or what? Because that's illegal.
Don't start there. We don't need to start bringing in, I'm going to sue you. We don't have that. That's one thing WWE's done over the years that drives me nuts. It's like, we don't need lawyers.
At least we didn't get a cement truck coming in and pouring cement in anyway.
The Corvette. Yeah. Issa, I got to say, I have a tremendous WWF 90s mind. I can give you from 92 to 98 main event of every pay-per-view pretty strong. I can even give you location. I got that well, and I got some of the high points now. You and your AEW, your Rolodex on AEW, like I don't know, like tell me what your Valentine's Day 2019 was. I mean, I'm sure it was, candlelight and romance, and what song you danced to, and what the dinner entree was, and
can't remember that, but I can remember everything that's gone on in wrestling for the last 5-6 years. I can tell you that much.
And she can tell you in Spanish and English. So
yep, I do it both ways.
Hey, Pac's still the All Atlantic champion.
Yeah,
apparently
he defended it someplace somehow.
Everywhere but AEW.
Yeah,
I couldn't help it. They're showing me the package, and I'm like, all I could think as they're showing us the package is, I'm like, I'm doing the Justin Roberts Orange Cassidy intro. It's like, Pac defending the title whenever, wherever, against whoever.
I know. It's just, again, here's a championship that is part of that company that should be defended on their television, and we're getting the interim AEW champion defending that title more often on television than Pac is defending that championship. That, to me, that's kind of backwards.
Are these matches being shown on Dark? Because I do not watch Dark on Elevation. I do know that when Thunder Rosa went to Japan and had that match, they ended up adding it to AEW Dark. So I'm very curious to know, have they shown these Pac matches on Dark? Because I mean, he's doing wonders for this title. It's just, are people actually seeing it? I barely recall this title being on TV outside of little video packages since Forbidden Door.
Yeah. Well, Issa, if you ask, the people will answer. They can tell you if it's been shown anywhere else. So we'll see. We get all ego Ethan Page in the ring. He's mad he's not on TV. He's mad that he's not a top 10 seller of merchandise. He blames it on all the stupid fans. All the while he's ranting and raving, Stokely Hathaway comes out and is in the ring behind him. Stokely gives him a business card, whispers in his ear, and it seems that Stokely Hathaway has obtained a new client in Ethan Page. My question to you guys, and again, I know I was on vacation last week, so maybe I missed it. Dan Lambert. What is Dan Lambert no longer representing Ethan Page?
Your guess is as good as mine, but I like the fact that this was quick. It wasn't drawn out, and it left a question, made people go, hey, what did he say to him? What did he whisper in his ear? Again, leaving you thinking what happened and wanting you to see more and to find out, exactly what was said.
Yeah, Issa. I was I the only one wondering, like, why is there no mention of Lambert here? I mean, we're acknowledging that Team Taz is no longer a thing. Where's Dan Lambert?
Right, maybe that's no longer a theme. I'm here for Stokely creating his own faction and recruiting people. I think Stokely is incredible. However, I do think that Ethan Page can cut his own promo. I actually did think that Dan Lambert was holding him back, and we saw a little bit of that tonight. So maybe give Stokely to people that could use that mouthpiece. I personally think that Ethan Page can talk on his own, but regardless, I am very curious and intrigued about this.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I'm going to use this chance to say, okay, we got Ethan Page, who's a Canadian. We got Ethan Page who can talk. Stokely Hathaway can talk. Managers. I'm going to use all that as a common thread to say, where is RJ City? Why is my man RJ City only doing AEW? You want some, and RJ will be happy not to go out there and bump. He doesn't want to bump. Let RJ come. Like, why is RJ? AEW's paying RJ to do some entertaining stuff. Why is he not out there in front of a live crowd? The same kind of magic that Danhausen has of kind of like just kind of a cult following and can do things. Why is my guy RJ City not out there live on Dynamite? That's my gripe that I'm gonna stand by and advocate for.
The only thing I can say to that is amen, brother.
All right, this is fun. We get the Gun Club versus the Acclaimed in a dumpster match. Of course, for you younger whippersnappers, maybe you might not remember 1998, but of course, I think all of us associate a dumpster match and a guy named Billy Gunn with he and Road Dogg in a fun dumpster match against Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie in Mania. So that's a nice little play up probably to the history here. Max Caster and the Acclaim does get their entrance after kicking Daddy Ass's ass for a moment there and leveling everybody out. They give the rap. Got to have the rap. It's the over part. Of course, and I said it to myself. I didn't document anywhere, so you might think I'm lying, but I did say to myself, I bet you Max Caster's going to find a way to rhyme Vince McMahon into this. Sure enough, he does. Gets the McMahon reference, gets the big O. Let's just talk Acclaim for a second. Jimmy, in all the talk of Wardlow and Darby and some of the other names that are the AEW homegrown talent that aren't former WWE guys or girls, the Acclaimed really have shot themselves up there in that conversation of just some of the most organic over acts right now that AEW's produced.
No, absolutely, and like you said, it goes back to we talked earlier tonight about MJF and one of MJF's gripes to Tony Khan, whether it's a work or whether it's a shoot, talking about them putting the emphasis on ex-WWE guys. That's what it feels like with the Acclaimed, because the Acclaimed aren't ex-WWE guys. These are guys that are, like you said, homegrown talents who have gotten over on their own. And yeah, they did the little fireworks display with the Vince McMahon reference in the rap, but they do that every week. But at the same time, they back it up in the ring.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing. And there's again, one thing that they are strong in is the tag division. And there's a team that should be at the top, if not near the top of the tag division. And they should be given a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Some attention to. Let's put it that way.
Issa, are you nodding your heads to the rap? Are you screaming "Scissor me ass, daddy"? Are you on the Acclaimed bandwagon?
Oh, 1000%. Listen, I love everything that the Acclaim is doing. I'm a big fan of them. I will get into the match, but I thought everything was perfect. I know that Max Caster knows how to get people talking about him in his raps, in the references that he makes. He did it again tonight. But like you said, this is not a just tonight thing. He does it every week. Every week he throws a reference in his raps that makes you kind of have to go on Twitter and say something about it. So good for him. He knows what he's doing.
Absolutely. I wouldn't say everything's perfect, but I will say this was entertaining. We'll get to perfection here in a second. So the match here. So we get very it's just a hardcore match. It's a very a lot of goo goo gaga, a lot of smoke and mirrors, trash cans, weapons, what have you. The big climax comes to Caster tossing Austin Gunn off of the entrance tunnel into the dumpster, and then we see for the win, Caster mic drop the mic drop, which is a flying elbow onto Colton Gunn through a table. The table absolutely just explodes. That's a great visual. And then they throw Colton into the dumpster, close the lid. So that's the match. The Acclaim wins. Then they proceed again, kind of nod to the old history of the dumpster match in the 90s with the guns. They finally roll the dumpster off of the staging area after a little trouble maneuvering it. The dumpster was not a work dumpster. They roll it off the stage, and you watch the visual of it. You see the padding that they throw it into. You see packing peanuts fly out of it. I don't know why. Out of the curtain, you see the tech crew and everybody coming out getting ready to try to clean. It was all I could think, Jimmy, was one word: rehearsal.
Yes, I don't think there was one. And if there was one, then that's not the way it likely went.
Rehearsal if there was a rehearsal went better.
Yeah. Exactamundo. Here's the only thing, though. Look, I get it. The elbow through the table and stuff like that. But we saw a table earlier in the night. There could have been something else they could have used, because we've already seen a table that night. That's one of the things that maybe matches should look at. Hey, look, we're using a table in our match. Are you guys going to use a table in your match, or blah 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 and stuff like that? I know people say, well, who cares? We already saw the table, so it kind of loses a little bit of its luster for me, at least. Anyways, whether maybe they could have brought out a ladder and have him laid out on the ladder and do the elbow while he's laid out on the ladder, or drape him across a couple of chairs or something,
or drape a table over the top of the dumpster, have them go through the table into the dumpster,
and then have him kind of pile out.
I get what you're saying. It is a little redundancy here. That's the quality. That's some of the quality control things.
But not taking away from the effort the guys put in, because they really did a hell of a job of
all involved had a hell of an effort. It was I couldn't help, but I might be nitpicking here of the how to make the sausage, but it was just a little bit of an anticlimactic. Now seeing it, I would have rather them not roll the dumpster off. I would rather get both of them in the dumpster, close the lid, and just celebrate. The rolling off, it just didn't look good. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I couldn't help but to think the same thing. Like it took away a little bit from what was a really fun match. Felt very Attitude Era. I can't help but to wonder. I'm always here to throw the little make you think comment. But last night we saw a Falls Count Everywhere match between Von Wagner and Solo Sikoa, and Solo Sikoa went right into the dumpster at the NXT parking lot. Was WWE trying to steal a little bit of thunder from this dumpster match? I don't know, but we literally just saw a dumpster spot last night on NXT. So,
fair enough. All right, so that was your dumpster match of the night. We go in now to the main event. It is Wheeler Yuta versus Chris Jericho. The stipulation here is that if Wheeler Yuta can beat Chris Jericho, he will get Chris Jericho's title shot at the interim world champion Jon Moxley next week at the Quake at the Lake. We get Jericho's out there with his JAS. Claudio is going to make his entrance to come out afterwards. He's going to be there to try to even the odds, to make sure that he keeps an eye on the JAS. Ultimately, JS is going to get kicked out. Claudio's then going to leave. So, which I'm all fine with. I actually think I prefer that. I prefer, like, let's acknowledge that there could be outside interference. Let's negate it. Let's get him out of there. So that way, it just explains it away. Shout out to Wheeler, who, and the pushing and shoving that starts the match, Jericho's got his nose bandaged up, which commentary makes note of. It's still from the lasting effects of the bar match with Kingston. Wheeler, flicks his nose. It's such a juvenile little thing, but it was so funny, but so effective and logical,
and made sense.
Yeah,
it just made sense.
It was fun. So that all happens. Back and forth. Ultimately, though, Jericho's going to end up getting the win with the Walls of Jericho. He won't let go of the Walls of Jericho. Ref's trying to pull him off. Moxley comes out through the crowd, Wild Thing and all. He chases off Jericho. Jericho then gets on the mic and says, "Moxley, next week, you and me for that world title, and you're going to get the Lion Heart." So Jericho, who's pulling out some of his different incarnations, different chapters in his career, going to pull out the last surviving member of the Heart Dungeon, Lionheart, Chris Jericho. Issa, is that what you're most looking forward to at the Quake at the Lake?
Please stop saying Quake at the Lake. Please, you must be stopped. I am excited for this match. I thought this was a lot of fun. The flick of the nose was absolutely incredible for me. I popped for it more than I probably should have. But yeah, I love the idea of Chris Jericho just bringing out whatever version of himself he needs to bring out for what the match calls, right? We just saw him bring out the Paymaker in that barbed wire match, and I think somebody that has reinvented himself so many times throughout the last 20-30 years that we've seen him, it's incredible that he's able to go back to these personalities, and I actually look forward to it. I'm excited for Moxley and Jericho next week. I think it's going to be fun, and this match was a lot of fun. It was a great main event.
No, I couldn't agree more. I really enjoyed the main event. And we talk a lot about how people can get over without going over. And thanks to Chris Jericho and Yuda himself as well, because he is a good talent. Yuda got over in this match without going over. And there were times in the match where you even questioned, like going into this, I thought to myself, Jericho makes the most sense to go over. Jericho is the most sense to face, Moxley next week at the Mistake by the Lake. But, there were times where I went, oh, that almost looked like he had the opportunity to win there again, and led to a really good finish. And I really enjoyed the match, and it made a lot of sense. And I liked the promo afterwards that Jericho cut and saying that he's going to get the old Lion Heart.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see what his appearance is, what his ring gear is, what his music is, what he pulls out from that era of his career. Obviously, the three of us, I believe, will be back next week after that event. I guess a little predicament. Like, what are we expecting? Because the interim world title. I mean, this is we've talked a little bit about this. Punk's out for the time being, so they have this interim champion. They go with Moxley, but obviously, it's probably a fluid situation of how long is Punk out for? How's his rehab? What have you? What's in time for All Out? And Moxley's had some. Moxley versus Jericho is a very unpredictable thing. You can never count out Jericho. So you could see a situation of they put the title on Jericho for. So what are you guys thinking? Is this a match? I mean, is this a match that has a foregone conclusion that it's going to be entertaining, but Moxley's definitely retaining, or depending on what the situation is of Punk and others that might affect this, could this be could we actually see an interim champion drop the title for another interim champion? Issa?
I don't see Moxley losing this title anytime soon. I think the match is going to be entertaining, but I personally don't see Moxley, dropping this title. I think it's going to be CM Punk against Mox. I don't think it makes his run any less fun. I've been enjoying everything that Moxley has been doing, but I personally don't see him dropping the title.
Yeah, Jimmy, I mean, normally in the world of when you go the interim title route, you have an interim champion and they just remain the interim champion until the incumbent champion comes back to challenge them. But again, you're putting two guys here that I could see a booking either way.
Yeah, and there's a way to keep the title on Moxley without having him defeat Jericho, and it goes back to what we talked about earlier today. Someone cut a scathing quote unquote shoot promo at Tony Khan saying that he puts emphasis on ex-WWE guys, and next week you're having a interim title match with two ex-WWE guys, Moxley versus Y2J, Chris Jericho. So what if someone were to return, someone who hasn't been talked about, someone who hasn't been seen, someone who hasn't even been acknowledged by the commentary?
Jimmy, don't get me excited. Stop.
And completely buggers up the match to the point where it gets thrown out. You know what I mean? And then he cuts the scathing promo of, hey, you want someone to be interim champion until the champion comes back? I'm the money guy, not these guys. I'm the guy who makes money here. I'll be the one who takes that title off of Punk, whatever the case may be. We don't need any of these guys from the other company. I am the man here, or something. Whatever.
Jimmy Korderas calling a shot of MJF taking the main event hostage next week.
Maybe.
I love it. I love the idea. I hope you're right, Jimmy.
Yeah. Issa's ears just perked up a little bit higher. You gotta
Also, you know what? We were on the talk of Jericho. We didn't mention the Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti wedding segment that was interrupted by Eddie Kingston. Oh my God, I love that so much. Where Eddie was like, "Why am I watching this? This is a wrestling show." Again, Eddie Kingston just keeps being so real, so relatable. He just never gets old.
And Eddie did, and off of that, Eddie did challenge him to a match at All Out. So yeah, I did. I don't always get to all the pre-taste of promos because some of them don't always necessarily translate to something that we need to talk about tonight. But that did happen for the Eddie and Sammy fans. Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti, they are the couple that everybody loves to hate. What a gimmick. All right, that's going to do it, though, for AEW Dynamite tonight from Columbus, Ohio. I'm going to be really curious on the numbers for this, both because we're watching trends, both because they kind of mix things up. How does that first segment come off with Jay Lethal and Orange Cassidy? How do the women do it at the 8:30 spot? How do WWE Legends and Christian and Matt do on the crossover? What's the main event do? I'll be really interested to see how the trends are. So, of course, you can check all that out on WrestlingInc.com. WrestlingInc will, of course, have all of that information and analysis on the website. So look forward to that. Issa, what do you want to plug, my dear?
Everybody can find me on YouTube, NYC Demon Diva. You can also find me here on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Also, Lucha Libre Online if you want to hear some Espanol.
Jimmy, do you got a ref and rant tomorrow morning?
Yes, I have a ref and rant set for tomorrow morning, and you get your ref and rant T-shirts at the usual place. Just go to my my Twitter account, and you can find out where it is. And I do it Monday to Friday. I don't do weekends. I got to take a couple of days off at least, anyways. And it gives my camera person, my wife, a couple of days not to have to deal with my rants. And also, you can find me here on Mondays and Wednesday nights talking sports entertainment on Mondays and pro wrestling on Wednesdays. I guess you could. I don't know, but anyway.
Very good, very good. I'm at Justin LaBar. Of course, I'm here on Mondays and Wednesdays as well with Jimmy. I'll be on Busted Open this Friday morning at 10:30 a.m. with Ryan McKinnell and Thunder Rosa. We'll be talking fallout from SummerSlam and all the stir up that is going on in Stamford. So that ought to be fun. Looking forward to that. Again, make sure you hit subscribe, leave a comment, tell a friend, do what you got to do. Tweet any and all of us. Tell us where in the world you are, Carmen San Diego, when you are watching or listening to this podcast. Are you watching? Are you listening? Are you just listening to Jimmy and I, and then are you watching when Issa's voice comes up on the screen? Tell me all your secrets. Tell me all your tricks. I want to know. Are you tuning your boss out? Are you tuning your teacher out? Or whatever it is, just share. I love that. I love to share it. And if I save it well enough, I like to share them on the podcast. So do all those things. Big thanks to everybody in the chat. Big thanks to those who dropped some coin for the super chat. That's funding Raj's Paris trip right now. Good on you. We'll be back, as we always are, here on Wrestling Inc. nonstop, 24/7. Your number one source for wrestling news, entertainment, and analysis. Be good.